Hi everybody, my name is Lee Strethrick and I'm the Director of Curation and Artist Relations here at Blackdove, where discovering and experiencing digital art is our top priority. Today we welcome Tim van der Wiel, aka FrameMaker, and you are a well-established 3D artist. You really take your extensive experience in commercial realms to embark on a journey towards mastering the art of dynamic moving visuals. With a really rich background in a whole bunch of domains. I checked out all of your work. I took a sneak peek, a deeper look, as your buttons say, on your website, and the work that you do is so beautiful, from like films and festivals, commercials, immersive experiences. You've worked with some big brands and big names, and it's a really impressive amount of work that you have on your website. And your creative lineage is really deeply rooted. You come from a family of artists, and I'm really excited to hear more about that and who they were and how you became who you are from being around really creative people. I think that's really a great advantage growing up. So I'm really excited to talk to you today, and thank you for coming. I'm really excited to highlight you for a week, and I love your artwork. Everyone is so wildly different, made of different things, but it's really cohesive. I'm really excited to dive deeper into your catalog and learn more about your passions and how you make these things as well.
Well, thanks, Elise. Thanks for having me. Thanks for highlighting me. It sounds all very exciting now. So, yeah. I've been, like you said. So I come from a family of artists, yeah, and what it is that my father used to be a photographer. It's not that he's dead or something; he's still there, but he's no longer practicing photography. I can always remember that he had his photography studio. It was attached to our house, but it was like a small walk, and I always like to take like little visits into his studio. And the things that I can remember the most is that he had like a setup in his studio where you could see it was just a plastic bag with some oil just sprayed on it, and there were some two of these products placed on it, and there was a whole bunch of lights around it, and a big camera directed towards it, and it didn't look like much from like any angle from the side. But if you looked at it through the camera, you saw it looked like an alien landscape with two of these products right on top. And that always impressed me, like because it had such nice speculars with all the soft boxes he had around it. He made it look like a fantastical thing. And that always, I like that about it. It was some trickery, some magic, and he was always also very happy doing his work. He was always at home, just having fun, doing photography, and just playing his classical music, whistling, and just making these beautiful photographs. It was yeah. I never really thought that I would become a photographer because I didn't really had the you know the interest in it necessarily. But once I had this illegal software, this disc, this CD-ROMs. It was called Twilight, and I think I downloaded there. There was a computer program which was called 3D Studio Max, and I installed it on my computer, and I started playing around with it, and that was just I loved it. I could just create these shapes. I actually I didn't my internet back then wasn't really super nice, but there weren't any tutorials or any of that stuff. So I was using the software in a completely wrong way. I didn't really understand it. I was 14 or something. It, I was just bending shapes into wild forms until it looked like something nice. And later on, I found these tutorials online on how you're supposed to use the software, what you were supposed to do with it. But I was just you know bending it whatever I wanted it to do. And then already I was making these weird abstract things in my own way. So that's how I really got into it. And it's also consider because I was also talking about my family before I digress. I have like my whole family from my, especially from my father's side. It's all these people. They don't work for bosses, but they have a very, they're all basically like their own. They're all freelancers. They're their own boss. One of them is really like a true artist. He makes these big statues. And my nephew, he's also went to the art academy. But everyone has never worked for a boss, and they do all their own creative takeouts. They build their own hotel, or and they in a weird way. They're very handy carpenters, and well, they're very creative. Yeah.
I see a lot of photography in 3D work, a lot of building buildings, like you're building things from like the ground up, and creating environments and things for people to truly live within. And you have a lot of shadow work that's really beautiful in all of your work. So I see that, that appreciation for shadow and light to create a feeling, an environment, whether like sometimes I feel like late afternoon with your work with some of the pieces of the moving wooden shapes that go up and down, or an early morning
Yeah,
just because of the light.
I tend to always put my lights really low so you get very long shadows. My dad always went out with his camera late at the day or in the morning because it was just nicer. So I always tend to do that as well. I like dramatic lighting. I don't want it to become a nice lit out. Well, it can be nice as well. That everything is just lit out. There's no more shadow. I want dramatic shadows. Probably maybe one light is already enough. And people think it's a bit weird sometimes. When I speak with colleagues that are into 3D as well, they always say you need more lights. And I was no, this is enough. I want less. I want dramatic stuff. I like it more. Yeah.
Is that what you loved when you were 14, and made you go into CGI work? The ability to create things yourself, and learn new things and meld all of these different kinds of arts that you might like together. Like what got you into following a path in CGI after you opened that original 3D Max?
I think it was first. It was maybe a little bit of an interest in computer games. Um, I liked playing around with stuff behind my computer, but programming wasn't really my thing because I'm a bit dyslexic. But for me, it's really hard to really to understand programming. But to to just being able to create images, and especially things that are not necessarily supposed to be anything, that really got to me. In the beginning, it was really more like doing this CGI and into like a VFX kind of way. But already soon in my career, I was making some choices of things that I really didn't want to do, like character animation, for instance. That was one thing that was straight away for me. No, I'm not. Yeah, it's for me. I can understand that some people can go wild on it, but I hate the rigging part. I hate the UV unwrapping part, and I hate the keyframing part. For me, it's already like all my animations that are in there, in my art. It's always necessary for me that I use as less keyframes as possible. I wanna automate the whole process. I want the whole file to be super small, super clean, and these setups must be made out of a smart system. So I use a lot of cloners, a lot of fields. And what is nice about it, like if I once created one piece, I can actually press a bunch of buttons. Sometimes I link it all together, just press one button, and then it just becomes a new piece. Entirely, well, it's still the same setup, but it is different. And I like that about it. If I cannot set anything up like in this manner, in this systematic way, then it starts to annoy me. Sometimes it can always it now sometimes it can also, when I do commercial jobs and I work with other freelancers, they sometimes think I can be a bit artistic about it. That I want to set up things these ways. I want to make a smart setup where everything is controlled, feels, and well, it works for one part, and some parts maybe it sometimes deters me from actually getting to the proper goal that you sometimes need to reach in a commercial project. But I think it's everyone has their niche as an artist, and you probably have to chase it a bit. And I like working like that. It's what making me happy. It's then I can really get into the craft of what I love to make, and it makes me happy.
I can tell by the prolific amount of artwork that you have on Blackdove, like how you love experimentation and just changing something a little bit and it creates something new, and you have such a wide variety of shapes and patterns that are really beautiful and inspiring and in different colors, and they can literally fit anybody's aesthetic. I mean, so much stuff.
Mm.
And what do you feel like is your inspiration when you're thinking of new work? What has your inspiration been lately with the works that you've been creating?
Well, I used to be, but because I started this whole thing on my Instagram, and that's also how you guys contacted me in the first place. Because my Instagram used to be like an outlet for my IDs, and like in it were like technical setups, and I wanted to show off like a certain creative idea that I had. Like, hey, if I could do this, then this would look nice, and so that's what I did. But then on a certain moment, when you guys contacted me, I was started rethinking this. Like, hey, yeah, so it could be like an art piece on itself. All the things that I do, because I always wanted to make it look nice. In the end, it's not just a technical test. It look nice as well. Um, so then I really felt like, yeah, these could be art pieces, and I should maybe spend even some more time on it to just what would you want to have hanging on your wall as an abstract art piece, and then you start thinking about what kind of art you like yourself. And for me, it's always nicer when it's not trying to be anything. When it's just I like these works of these like Mondrian, where it's just shapes and colors, and it's not trying to. 'Cause like in 3D, you do so much VFX and CG work as well, and it's still there. And I still like doing that as well. But then this can be your outlet of creating something truly that is just nice to look at. It doesn't need to be anything else. So and then also what I did, there's a line of pieces that I created uh, when I had some downtime actually last year, and you guys contacted me. I felt like, you know what I want to do. If you have these screens hanging on the wall, I really wanted to treat them like how would a true art piece that is just really there, how would it look like um, if you were looking at it and then you see that it's suddenly moving. So I created a bunch of pieces that you know which one I'm talking about, the um, the one with where I took the frame of the art piece and it just keeps going in and out. Yeah, and the color keeps changing. So there I also made it like I put in the lighting of like what would the lighting of a normal room be where maybe an art piece hangs like that. And then I toward the edges you cannot make a 3D effect where you will have the 3D coming out of the frame, because then it will lose the illusion. So I always made sure that all the displacement of there just kept within was being kept within the frame of the art piece itself, and that really got me going for a while. That whole concept, and I did a few pieces of it. They didn't work too well on Instagram though, because people probably didn't understand what they were supposed to be used for. But I think that I don't know how well they perform on Blackdove because
I they're I feel like popular in the what I like about your work is a lot of your work is really popular with like commercial settings, I feel, because it is constantly looping and there's so many different colors because a lot of hotels and things that we're approaching really like to have different experiences in different elevators or different levels, different areas and conference rooms and all of these other places, and they used to like color code them or time of day them. So I think that something that is really advantageous of your work is it can be appreciated by every age and every kind of person. It is really melodic, meditative, and just calming, I feel, which is really nice and takes you on this really coasting journey. I love those and the ones that, and I'll link all of them in this meeting too, in the interview so people can see them.
yeah.
The kind that were around there that it looked like cut pieces of paper, and they just constantly change, like the when you create like a map in different levels of paper. It was really beautiful and interesting, and those are super deep and very, very cool. So I love those.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, they're great. I absolutely love your work.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, well, it's nice that it's being appreciated for for being these art pieces, and I'm really I didn't know before the time that I could actually just make some money or doing making these pieces that I really enjoy making myself. I didn't realize that there was actually some that I could maybe make a full-time job out of it. I'm not there yet that I can make a full-time job out of it, but it's slowly getting there. So, and that's
The more that people, I feel, in the world see and appreciate digital art and are able to have it in their home, from small starter canvases to larger canvases, and it become a constant thing in the next 5 to 10 years in almost every home, where you can have like this ever-changing canvas that complements also your physical art, if you have that as well. But being able to appreciate more than one piece of work daily or weekly, or in various playlists and collections, I think is really interesting, and allowing more people to own digital art through using like a debit or credit card, not having to use a wallet, which digital art was kind of like bound to in the last few years. It's been seen as a only NFT thing, which I think is amazing that NFTs did that with digital art. But being able to have so many people, the large amount of people that don't have a crypto wallet, don't want one, are kind of over that. This is easy for them to own, to play immediately, or utilize the subscription model, which I think is great. And then, the more and more work you have, which you have so much, allows me to put your artwork in a variety of different collections, and be able to showcase them to larger clients that are wanting to see digital art become part of their everyday worker or consumer experience. It's great to see.
That's nice that you don't necessarily need like this whole. You need, if you really want to get into NFTs, you need a lot of experience, and I think also a lot of people are nowadays are maybe a bit turned off by NFTs because it's also so scammy, the whole market. Because also on Instagram, I get every day I get people that they lie about wanting to buy my NFTs, and then they want to go to these dodgy websites and upload it. They never got me there, but it's sometimes I like to play around with them a little bit, pretend that I'm really going to sell it to them, that I'm, because they offer these ridiculous amounts for buying my artwork, but I, it's NFTs is it's nice that this whole thing started, but at the same time, the NFTs also feel a little bit like a do we really need it to in the art world? It's not necessary because everyone can still see the art piece, but you're just owning a receipt basically for it. And
I think a lot of that came with the ownership and access to certain communities, and a lot of that has just sadly fallen off. Almost every single, group on Discord that I knew of has closed shop, and people have moved on to other jobs and things that it was a very exciting few years, and I think it was amazing what it did to show the value of digital art ownership and make that something that was possible. Because when I went to college, that wasn't possible. It was just commercial work that you thought of, and the art, like art didn't take precedence. It was just trying to make it part of your portfolio, and not for it's just selling on its own. You wouldn't have thought to do that 10 years ago. So it's really amazing where it's come from and all the art that's come out of it. And I really appreciate you sharing that and your thoughts, and see where the licensing model can go for just larger amounts of people to appreciate digital art, and see what they like in their home, and have something new.
it did make the whole digital art seem much more serious. Before that, it was just maybe a little bit of a joke because people thought like, why would you even buy digital art? And I don't think you need NFTs for this whole process, but it did shake it up because suddenly, damn it, now I forgot his name again. Biggest artist, damn it, Beeple, that he became the best sold he the best sold artist in the world suddenly out of the blue during this whole COVID epidemic. It was madness, and I was a little bit too late, I guess. I should have jumped on the hype train straight away, and I did it a little bit. I made some NFT money, but I did it for like a commercial job for a car manufacturer, and I made some NFTs for that. But then I just got paid through the client. But it was still good money. There was fun work, because also then I could just make these patterns, make my art, and they didn't art direct me one bit. They were just happy with all these artworks that I make, and they didn't want to art direct me there because I was the artist. So it was a great job anyway. Still more NFT. Yeah, no, yeah. It was also, I worked with some Germans there. It was really weird. They can be like, if you work with Dutch commercial agencies, they are completely different than German ones. They are much more. I don't even know what they do. It's they're the Germans are much more directed towards like a. Nah, let's not get into this.
Not a problem, not a problem. Let's move on to, what kind of software do you use now? I'm sure that you've moved on from that when you were 14, 3ds Max. So what combination of products do you use to make the artwork that you do now?
Well, so I used to use 3D Studio Max and I loved it, but I think 5 years ago I switched to Cinema, and Cinema is much more uh, nice to create all these types of artwork. It's a much more reliable software for this type of stuff because it has cloners and fields, and especially the whole fields part of it is just amazing. You can just automate all your animations that are based on all these transforms, and I really got into that part. That just you can have particles in 3D, and particles is nice, but I really think that with fields you can just do such amazing stuff. You can have much more control. Where particles are really hard to loop, fields is just a breeze, and you can just make things, you know, a bit more chaotic or much more controlled, and it will just always end up in the same place in the end. If you want to create loops, it's just perfect. And so I'm really, really in love with that. Then I use Redshift as a render engine, which comes now always with Cinema, and I use a little bit of After Effects. And now I also use Topaz for just making higher frame rates or just making it higher resolution. Because just rendering in a 4K resolution. So what I do for Blackdove or any other art installation stuff, I just render in a 4K by 4K resolution square, and I just make the two cutouts out of it. But I render it half the resolution and I upscale it, and it's I don't think render it in the 4K resolution itself will actually make it any better. Topaz does a really good job. It truly is. It even takes jitter out of my frame, out of my renders. Sometimes I have some global illumination jittering, and it just makes it look better. It's amazing.
I've heard some really great things out of Topaz, and that's what we suggest to any. We're not affiliated with them, but for the last year, I've been suggesting people for maybe they can't find their original files to re-render some works and stuff like that, and just being able to use that for videos seems to be really advantageous for the price. So.
Well, I approve this message. It's truly wonderful. And I am actually recently also getting into Touch Designer. It's it's an amazing piece of software, and I played around it a little bit before, but now I'm really making it that I'm watching a tutorial every day because I think I've been now because of my Instagram I've been asked for this Calvin Harris World Tour job, and there it was a job where you I could make these setups, and it was supposed to be they are in the end they were loops, and then you would mix they would mix so I made like three different lighting setups, and then in an edit on the beat they would change lights, so we just have the same render but you could just make it react to the music through that. But if you Touch Designer, you can just make these setups that run real time. And of course, they won't have the same nice lighting or 3D effects, literally, but it's just other things that you can do with Touch Designer. You can create such special pieces with it. And I've gotten into it more, and I've seen what people can do with it. And I think that I can probably be good at it as well. And if I want to maybe work more for these big performances of these big artists, and they probably have room in their shows for these real-time responsive images, I want to work on that, and it excites me. So it's let's see if I can. So I'm not good enough that I can actually take on jobs professionally yet with Touch Designer, but I think maybe in a few months I should be getting there. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's yeah. Let's see where it gets me.
I know there's a lot of digital art being used in, I mean, almost every big performance, especially in like EDM and dance music and really amazing visuals. And I think that is super cool with Calvin Harris. How did that come about? Was it from like a previous client that you had, or they find you online?
It was through Instagram. I actually thought I was being scammed again, but this guy turned out to be legit, and before I knew it, set up within the team, and I was working on the show with Calvin Harris. Oh, of course, you get to a point that you think like I asked him for like how do you say a pre like a amount of money that you should get for before you start. What's the English word for that again? Oh, down payment, yeah, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but I saw that the money was on my account, and then you know for sure, so it's not a scam. And well, when you have a call with them already, and he's talking, then you probably already know this is legit. But at least you want to see some money. Um, but yeah, it was a great fun job. I think the stuff that is in the end used is not even most of it because I created so much more. But they have a it was just every day I said like I here's some content, and then they start to see if they actually use it in the show, and some things were used and some things didn't, but that's the way they work, and they were really happy with it. Later on I was also asked for another job, but I didn't have time then. It was for Missy Elliott, the world tour, but it I couldn't do it that quickly, and I was busy with something else. So, and I used to back in the days actually also work a lot for to create images for EDC in Vegas as well. I created a lot of stuff for that as well. So I have some contacts with other studios here in Holland that do a lot of these big VJ shows. So it's not like I haven't done it before. That was also the Armin van Buren world tour as well. What I did for these, it's a company. Yeah.
Partner loves them. Listen to their radio show. They're like, I've listened since episode 200, and they're like, I'm 50.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I listen to trance music as well sometimes. Go through my periods of electronic. I listen to any type of electronic music, but sometimes I go into my trance period again and then totally into it again. Normally I listen to IDM, not EDM, but IDM. It's very obnoxious. It's intelligent dance music. No, do you know these? This is. Do you know Moderat or John Hopkins? It's a bit. It's depressing techno, I would call it. Yeah, it is. Maybe. Sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe melancholic is a better way to describe it. It has a certain tendency to make you feel depressed and happy at the same time.
I'm sadly happy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's really funny. That's
It's a
cool.
very
Your artwork is so good for those kinds of shows too. Not the melodic sad ones necessarily, but that kind of music. And I think that it's super colorful and beautiful, and you can just get lost in it. And that's how I feel like listening to that music. So I wish you all the success in that. That sounds amazing. I'm excited to see more of your work, appreciated by these other big artists. I really loved that Pepsi commercial that you were a part of too. That was one of the wildest, fast-paced commercials, and that must have been incredible to make. How long was that process to do all of the things that you did for that commercial?
Oh yeah, yeah. That was it was a job that took me like 6 weeks, but it was also a really fun job actually. It was because in the end, Pepsi just wanted a reel with a bunch of effects for the whole new logo setup. And the only briefing that I got is that just do what you always do with these moving patterns and make these quick little snippets, and it should all be Pepsi related. Probably has the Pepsi logo in the middle, but maybe sometimes not. And I just could create these moving patterns for 6 weeks long. I could just create them, and some of them were picked, and I think same process here. Maybe 10% ended up in the edit, and then I had to improve on them or like maybe change this one a little bit. In the end, it was still some production work of you know just pressing on, making it look nicer, the ones that were picked. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. In the end, I even like playing. In the beginning, they didn't want any of the packaging in there. It should all be more abstract. But I started using these. Just give me some of these cans and the packs, and started playing with them as well. And then they did like it in the end, and it all became part of the edit.
I thought you did that. I was like, I bet you're the one that did, because I know if you can take a single object and do it with, like your own work, then you can definitely do it with a can. So I definitely thought like the cans going like this, and the other things with the cans are probably.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Everything with all the packs in there is it's all mine, and I did a lot of crazy more stuff in there. They also have a shot in there that was they wanted to hire a Houdini guy for it. It was being inside of a can of cola with all the bubbles, but I made that as well. It was a whole complex setup with the bubbles swirling around the can, and they were all directed in a way that once they, because sometimes you can get into trouble with with these objects when they get too close to the camera, and then your shot doesn't look nice anymore. But they were all dissolving towards the camera because I pulled that all in, and it was the client loved it, and they all thought it was a Houdini setup, but it was all done in cinema. I'm just doing this stuff. I wish I could do Houdini, by the way, because I'm really in love with all the work that is being generated in it. But I'm always a little bit taken back by all the programming that is in the tutorials there. It's it scares me off. Whenever there's like a part that is programming in there, I always like I freeze up because I just can't understand it that well.
My brain just doesn't work that way, and I wish that it did. It makes my brain tired, and I was just never good at that. That's why I don't, think I'd love to do generative art, but I don't think it would be easy for me. I'm much more just hands-on visuals, moving visuals, like with some XYZ stuff. But uh, that's really awesome to hear that you did all of those things for that commercial. It was awesome. It was just boom, 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 boom. It was beautiful,
Yeah, yeah.
and I love it. So that's something to be really, really proud of. Like, big picture, you've harnessed the power of digital art and CGI, and you're establishing yourself in collaborating in a variety of ways on the mass market level. Where do you see the growth of digital art in the future, with especially platforms like Blackdove creating easier ways for people to access digital art, and even that even means at a commercial level, making it easier for um, other commercial clients to find artists to do like personalized work, because we also do that too, and we'll bring you like our commercial client loves your work, but they want their logo revealed in the middle or something like that, or they wanted a different color, and being able to provide these new opportunities for artists. Like, where do you feel like it's going from having been at NFTs to where the future you think is in like that unmass market of people being able to reach people like
Well, I think in the end, screens will get cheaper and they will become part of our everyday life. We will see them much more and more and more. I'm not saying that the whole world should be filled with screens like Blade Runner, but I think in like a lot of environments, it's nice to have them around and makes it very, futuristic. But it's yeah. So for sure, there is gonna be a bigger market for this content. And what you don't want to have on these screens is just um, you don't want it to become commercials all the way, because it should always be a more subtle way of advertisement. Then if these screens are constantly in your face, you don't want to scream at people all the time. So I think the content that is going to be created for it should always be more on the artsy, or how I would like to call it, visual ASMR. It should be there, but not screaming at you. So there's probably going to be a whole big market for it, and I I would love to create more content for it.
that? Where do you find the time? Because it is just wow, and I love you being able to render out like usually those three different versions, and it's so good for artists in the digital realm to not bind themselves to a particular um, portrait, horizontal, portrait, landscape, or square uh, visual output, because you never know who's going to have the digital canvas, or what size they're going to have. So I love that you create these different sizes and make it easy for somebody to say, oh, I love that piece of art, but we have it in a different orientation. Oh, great, we have that for you too, because they already provide that. So it's a lot easier to put you in so many different collections, which is great.
Yeah, nowadays I tend to always render in this big square format, so I know for sure that I can create both out of them, like the vertical and the horizontal, and of course the big square version as well, which is probably not being used that much nowadays, but it's probably gonna become bigger and bigger. And what I also try to do in most setups that I have is I always use like a, well, mostly I use like an orthographic camera. So that means that you won't have like a very harsh perspective. So, and because I'm creating these patterns and these systems, if I want to have like an art piece that becomes suddenly 6,000 pixels wide and only maybe 1,000 pixels high, I can just extend the whole art piece to something bigger and wider. Needs some adjustments, but basically I can use the same setup for any type of any type of aspect ratio like that. I do this on purpose because I know that I can repurpose it for anything later. And this happens now lately as well. I get approached by these sometimes uh, other DJs or there was a shopping center that wanted to buy my artwork lately, and they also have this ridiculous settings for aspect ratio.
Which is really smart, and that's good. I think for every artist that's listening to this to to understand and to make it more acceptable in the art community to be able to play any style of art that you have on any digital canvas orientation that you have, to create all these different kinds of variations and just a rendering of at least those three, the 16 by 19, 9 by 16, and a square. So, and the squares will become more affordable and acceptable, just like, televisions. They're just very different to make than the traditional that already have like factories kind of set up, and it's just a more expensive process to create those visual aspects. So, but they will decrease. We have one that's a bit more affordable on the site. That's a smaller one, but it's really pretty, and it's a great little entrance into owning digital art and seeing how it looks. And
How big is it, if I may ask?
let me see. It is. Sorry, my face is so close. It is digitalcanvas.io. And let's see, Spill Canvas. Let me see it is a 33. They're sold out right now for the 33, but there's one that is a 22 inch, and I think these must have been.
It is nice though. Like a square format will really, then you have like such a different screen than anything that is out there. Then it's no longer a TV. It's just, then you know for sure that it's an art piece. It would be nice, like to actually, because like the pieces that I talked about in the beginning that were really made to be shown within the frame as an art piece. I am still have on a to-do list to convert those, because that will be a bit more work, because then I really have to make them in the new aspect ratio and just only render them for the square screens. And also the same, because if I want, I cannot just rotate them 90 degrees and make them applicable for the horizontal screens, because they have like baked in lighting and all that stuff, and then I have to redo the light. I can still, for the horizontal ones, I can still at least rotate them 90 degrees, but I do have to re-render them. But it will look nice. Still have to do it. But yeah, I where do you get the time?
I know. I love the new pieces that you. I think you just put a new one up on Instagram. I think this is where it's pulling from. It looks really, really cool, and it's the first one that's on your about, where I read some more information on you. It looks so cool. I don't think that it has a name. Uploaded 9 hours ago. That one is just fantastic. It gives me like 80s movie poster vibes. Like really like what Terminator. Very, very cool.
Like shiny chromy metal. Yeah, I've been recently. I've been getting into this. I made like I made a lighting rig, and so it's like a system that just randomizes softbox lights with certain colors. So I use like color setups that I tend to use a lot. But these pieces, so it's just a glass surface that is being displaced, and the only thing that you see are basically the lights that are being refracted through it. And so I'm just playing with glass and lights now, and well, it's also because of the surface that you put on top of it will make it look interesting. But it's yeah, the setup itself is very simple, but well, you still have to make it and make it look nice and have an animation that is just smooth. I like to call it visual ASMR.
It really is, and I love ASMR. A weirdo, but I think that is just so beautiful, and they're all so different, so many different shapes. You got to go to Blackdove and look up FrameMaker. We'll have all of the links here in the bottom of the video on YouTube as well, and in the email that will go out, and all on social media and everything. So I really appreciate the time that you came and talked about your art. I just could not wait to talk to you. I love your work. It is amazing. Where can people find you other than on Blackdove?
Yeah, on my website, you can find me on framemaker.tv or on Instagram and then framemaker_TV. On Instagram, I'm posting all my weird experiments and everything that I really enjoy doing. And on my website, I have more of my commercial work, but also links to my Instagram and all that stuff.
It was wonderful talking to you. Thanks for making the time. I'm so excited to highlight you and see more of your work. And I hope to go to a music festival where I see your artwork and be like, I know that guy.
That would be great.
I know it'll happen.
Oh, you can go to Calvin Harris then, apparently.
I want to. Even more exciting. Even more exciting.
Yeah, he was in Holland here as well, and I didn't go see him. God damn it.
It's a sin. It's a sin. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the next time we talk.
All right. Me too. Thanks, Elise.
Bye.
Bye-bye.